Hey, what is it? It's Thursday. Hey, everybody. Thanks for jumping on with me again. I know this is kind of unannounced. And I said I was going to do a live every week. I just got back from a field trip with Gavin to Manchester University, which was really super fun. And I have a little bit of time before I have to go pick up my daughter from Jump Rope Club. So I wanted to come on this week and talk to you about what you can do if your child is being bullied. And I'd love to talk to you about what you can do as an adult if you're being bullied at work, because I know that that is super common. Unfortunately, as adults, we don't have as many actions we can take other than walking away and being the bigger person and ignoring it. Of course, reporting it to HR. That was a really, really quick summary in terms of adults. There are obviously adult bullies. But today I really want to focus on what to do if your child is being bullied, because I think it is an issue. And as I mentioned last week, when I first started thinking about bullying, I thought, oh, is this just like an issue of people being mean? Or, they're bullying me, or does that mean they're being mean? And I think the first thing we need to realize is that bullying is a repetitive pattern. And it's not something that one time somebody said something mean to you and hurt your feelings. That's not bullying, and that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is a continued pattern of either physical, mental, emotional, or sexual abuse that happens, or not necessarily sexual abuse, I guess, but sexual bullying, which we covered last week as well. So if you missed that, jump back on. It's on Facebook still from last week's Facebook Live. But this week I want to talk to you about how you can tell if your child's being abused, and then some steps you can take towards working through that with them, and also preventing it even before it starts. And then next week, we're going to talk about how to have empathy for a bully, which could be really, really tough, right? Like, why should we feel bad for a bully? And we'll get to that later. But for today, some things that I want to tell you is that a lot of times your kid is not going to come out and just say, Mom, there's a bully. So I want you to imagine that you've been picked on at school, either in the hallway or at recess, or maybe it's on a sports team for however long it's been going on, all right? And maybe it's something like teasing, or maybe it's being shoved into a locker. It might be the silent whispering where people set you up for things. That can be a huge one, where people are setting you up. It could be cyberbullying, where people are constantly messaging you or making directed comments to you. That could be another one. In terms of sexual bullying, it could be crude jokes, but it's repetitive. All right. So if this is happening to your son or daughter, and they're not talking about it, there are other things you need to look for. Things like unexplainable injuries, all right? Like, what happened to your arm? Like, why is it bruised? I don't know. If they tell you they don't know and it keeps happening, pay attention to that. It would be like any other sign of abuse, really. Lost or destroyed clothing, books, electronics, jewelry. If they come home and their shirt is ripped, and you say, what happened? And they say, well, I don't know. And you notice that like their library books keep coming up missing, and I don't know what happens to them, or they don't have, their lunch money's missing, or their watch is gone. Well, what happened to your watch? How do you lose your watch? It just fell off your wrist? Well, I don't know what happened to it. Those kinds of things could be a sign of bullying. Frequent headaches and stomach aches are a big sign of anxiety. So from an anxiety girl, I'm telling you that it could be feeling like they can't catch their breath. It could be feeling like they can't think. It could be sick to your stomach feeling. So headaches and stomach aches, either because of anxiety or trying to stay home from school or whatever that event is where they're being bullied. Other things could be changes in eating habits, like suddenly skipping meals and saying they're not hungry, to binge eating, because sometimes it could be that the bully is, they stole their lunch money, or they stole their lunch, or they're not going to the cafeteria all to eat because maybe that's where the bully is. So changes in eating habits from not eating lunch. Difficulty sleeping or frequent nightmares. If your kid's always been a good sleeper and suddenly they're having nightmares, you need to ask what is going on, because that's a good sign that something's going on. Declining grades, loss of interest in schoolwork, not wanting to go to school at all. Why are you suddenly not? Why are your grades falling? What's going on that's making this happen? Asking the right questions and asking specific questions. A sudden loss of friends or avoiding social situations. If they've had a friend they've always hung out with and all of a sudden that person is MIA and they're not talking about them anymore, what happened? Did you just get in a fight? Did you just disagree? Did you drift apart? Or did something else happen? Or not wanting to go to school because they don't want to be around anyone is another one. Feeling helpless or starting to put themselves down. If you've had a kid that's fairly positive, and for whatever reason in our culture, we have this thing where people say, oh my gosh, your hair looks good. And you're like, oh, no, I don't look good. Or, oh, you look really nice in that outfit. Oh, no, it makes my butt look fat. Take a compliment, for crying out loud. But if your kid has always been good about having some decent self-esteem, or all of a sudden they're putting themselves down, or they're like, no, I'm not good at that, or I'm ugly, or I'm stupid, and all of a sudden this is happening, but you've never noticed this about your child before, start asking some questions, all right? Self-destructive behaviors like running away from home, self-harm, or talking about suicide in extreme cases, you take those seriously. If your kid is joking, make sure they know that the joke isn't funny and never to do it again. If you're going to say that, I will take you seriously. And if that means that you're embarrassed because you said something you didn't mean, awesome. Don't ever do it again. But if they say it, you take it seriously. All right. Do not question that. If your kid says anything about hurting themselves or taking their own life, jump on it. Don't second guess it, and don't second guess yourself. If they're not serious, they'll be sorry in the end because they'll wish they didn't say that. All right. Those are just some things really to look for in terms of bullying. And before we go on, I want to talk a little bit about being able to talk to your kid. So my boys, it's like, hey, Gab, how was school today? Normal. That's what he tells me. It's just normal. And, when Ryan was at home before he went to college, I would say, how was it? Good. It was good. I have nothing, right? So my girls come home and they just like tell me everything. If your kid is a talker, awesome, because when they're not, it makes it hard to talk to them. One of the things we can work on that if you have not, I know I keep pushing this, if you have not coded yourself yet, you need to decode yourself using that link that I keep putting it out, and I will keep posting it so that you guys have an opportunity to do that. Find out how you communicate, all right? If you are speaking with a kid who is straight blueprints, my daughter is a blueprint and Ryan is a blueprint, my oldest son, if you don't know who that is, if you have a blueprint kid and you are a nurturer mom, they're not going to talk to you because you're not speaking their language. And I know that sounds confusing if you've never decoded yourself or your child. Use that link. It is free to you and it is going to tell you how you communicate. But if you have your kids do it, it's going to tell you how your kids communicate. And right away, you're going to know how to adapt for them. And that is really, really important. Because if we're going to talk to our kids about bullying, we need to be speaking the same language. The goal of this really awesome bank program that I have is one language. It's everybody being able to communicate with everyone else effectively. And there's going to be a really awesome webinar about this tonight. So if this is something that you think you might be interested in for your classroom, which is where I use it, or for your business in terms of connecting with your clients, yeah, it was created for sales. I happen to use it for education and coaching. It is fantastic. So if you really want to come to this webinar, you need to message me like in the next probably 2 hours, okay? Because it's at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific tonight. Tell me and I will get you on the list, but you can't just like show up. So I totally recommend it. But in terms of communicating with your kid, once you know what language you speak and you know what language your kid speaks, it's going to open that door and it's going to be a little more effective. So you know how to address them as opposed to wondering if you're getting through, okay? That's going to cut out one of those roadblocks. So the first thing you really need to do is listen. You don't necessarily have to say a thing. It's in your approach and it's just sitting there sometimes and letting them vent and process through what they think they should do. Because sometimes just to say, so-and-so is doing this to me at lunch every day and I don't feel like I can go into the lunchroom because everybody makes fun of me. So I think that what I'm going to do is blah, 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 blah. And you let them talk and you just sit there. But if you talk and they're afraid they're going to make you sad, they're going to shut up because they don't want to hurt you. Okay, mom, dad, trust me, I've done this. You cannot personalize what's happening. This is their story and their experience. And if you were bullied as a kid, it is going to suck to sit there and listen to your kid tell you this story. All right? You are going to, Mama bear and Papa bear thing is real. Step one, listen. Number two, don't personalize this, okay? Number three, you're going to have to shut that inner bear up, okay? You cannot retaliate. I know you want to go up there and grab that kid and hang them up by their hood and just scream at them for hurting your baby. I get it, okay? Don't do it, obviously, right? You don't retaliate by going to their parents' house and screaming and doing that, because your job is to listen and to help your kid problem solve and to back them up, okay? It is not your job to solve it. It is not your job to go out and make that kid understand what a rotten little shit he is, okay? You don't have to. All right, we'll get into that later. The fourth thing you can really do is to coach your kid on how to react, okay? Bullies are looking for power, and they're looking for attention, and they're seeking it, all right? So if you can talk with your kid using their language, and you can kind of role play or talk your kid through what an appropriate reaction would be to bullying, you're giving them power to control the situation before it happens again, because you practice it. A long time ago, I can remember being in school and we had to practice saying no to drugs. Remember the whole big, oh my God, I'm so old. Back when Nancy Reagan was the first lady, whenever that was, and we had Mr. Yuck stickers, the little green Mr. Yuck stickers. We also had the Say No to Drugs campaign, right? We had to practice how we were going to say no. And ours was always, we could always blame it on our parents. You can blame your parents. And if we can figure out how to role play, how to talk to a bully, how to stand up for yourself. So coach your kid on how to react. If you don't know how to coach your kid, I'm a coach, okay? We can figure this out. We can talk about communication. We can talk about your kid's self-esteem, your kid's confidence, and how to work this out for them. Because if there is anything in the world I want to do is to give kids and teenagers power to completely rock this world, because they are like the best. Like, I know some people think that teenagers and kids are rotten, and I really think they're like the greatest thing ever to happen. So anyways, the next thing you need to do once you've talked with your kid about how to react, you've got everything together, you're feeling good, you need to find a teacher or administrator who's going to listen to you. Okay, schools are trained to deal with bullying. They're required to deal with bullying. And if you talk to a lot of parents and a lot of students, they will tell you, well, they won't do anything about that at my school. Then find somebody else. And then if that teacher doesn't ignore you, you find somebody else, and you find somebody else, and you find somebody else until you get to the right person. Okay? You need to push it. All right? Not in an aggressive, retaliatory kind of way, but I don't know if I said that word right. Retaliatory. You know what I'm saying, right? So find someone who's going to listen to you and push it. All right? Because if your child is being bullied, you need to get to the bottom of it. And if they're not, then we need to deal with what your kid is saying that's maybe not true. But that is secondary. Take your kid's side. Number 6, take your kid's side and teach them to name what is happening to them. All right? If your kid says they're being mean to me, or they're not kind, no kidding, they're not kind. Or yeah, they're definitely being mean to you. And if it happens once, they're being mean to you, or they were not being very kind. But if it's happening every day, it's bullying. And you need to get your kid to label it, all right? They are bullying me, and this is what they are doing. Make them say it out loud. And then make them say it out loud to the person, like to the administrator at school, all right? And number 7 would be really encourage your kid to find something they're good at, and that they have a natural talent at, and have them explore it, because not only do they get to develop self-esteem through this new skill, but it also breaks them away into maybe a new group. So if your kid has always liked art, but they've always been a soccer player, hey, you know what? There's a new art club at school. You should join that. I know it's not where you usually go, but you're good at art and you like it. Let's try it. Let's try it for a month and see how it goes. They might find a brand new supportive group of friends, and they might find out that they're really good at art, and they might find out that those friends are going to support them, and it may give them just enough confidence to stand up for themselves more easily. So help them find something a little bit different that they excel at or that they could excel at, and get them involved in that. And finally, we've done all this stuff for your kids, but mom and dad, you need to get support, okay? I've written and talked a whole lot about how your kid needs this support and we need to believe them. But guys, it sucks to think about somebody hurting or teasing or hitting or doing anything to your kid, and it's okay to cry about it. It is okay to be mad about it. It is okay to have horrible, horrible thoughts about what you're going to do, as long as you don't do them. And then you take a breath and you call your best friend or your mom or your sister or your aunt or the teacher or your friends at church, whoever it is, you need to get support too, because they're going to know that my kid's being bullied and I need someone to support me through this, because if not, I'm going to go crazy. All right. It's hard, you guys, I know, but I really wanted to offer you guys a little bit of content, because I think the bullying, we don't like to admit we're being bullied. Kids don't like to admit they're being bullied, and we don't like to admit our kid is being bullied. Now, some people will throw it out there like it's, candy on Halloween and just say, you're a bully, you're a bully. Not always, all right? So if you have questions about this, please don't hesitate to stop and ask questions in the comment area. Please, I ask you every single time to share this with your friends, to invite them to 10,000 Swords, to my coaching page. I have one that I'm going to start funneling all of my nutrition information to, which is the Ditch the Sugar page. And if you all are looking for more information on, weight loss and that kind of stuff, because I have two different coaching genres here. One is that, which is there, and that is my Ditch the Sugar page. My other one that has a lot more to do with communication, teenagers, bullying, things like that, is my communication and parenting teenagers coaching page. So both of those are open for you to join. I would love for you to invite your friends or anyone else you think that would benefit from this information, because that's why I do this, right? I just really want to help people be the best they can be, and to have these teenagers that are just rocking the world. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sharing. And I will be back next week to talk about more about bullying all through October. Okay. Have a great day and a great Friday tomorrow. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.